Hello. So we are at the tail end of week one of our web dev for nonprofit class. We're the week one of the first week of second 8 weeks. Yep. So it's been a rough one. I think you guys can all probably feel the same about that. It's been definitely a learning curve. For me, it's been the infrastructure. I don't have that great internet. I have it good enough to do what I need to do, but the virtual classrooms are rough for the classes I've already had. The video doesn't work, and the students are telling me that the audio keeps cutting out. So our plan C, I guess, is now just to do videos. So we're going to try to meet at least once a week. And if it gets to become too painful of experience, then we're just going to cut that out and or just cut it short. We'll try to continue to meet once a week, but we'll just cut it short if it's too painful of an experience. And we'll be relying upon videos, Discord, and anything else. So let's review week one. Okay, you had a video assignment. No, that was me doing the video, talking about the assignment. You had a reading assignment, sorry. I already have it open. Let me open it again. Okay, and we were going to have a basic idea of what is involved in a nonprofit. So after reading this article, hopefully you have the understanding of what exactly a nonprofit, the requirements that it needs to meet to be a nonprofit. Because of the IRS and because of the tax advantages, we're being tax exempt and some other reasons just to ensure that a nonprofit is truly a nonprofit and meeting all the guidelines, you need to do your homework. And that includes if you need to see if there's any other resources that are meeting the needs that you are proposing to meet with your nonprofit. Is there actual need, or is there somebody else already fulfilling that need? If that need is already being fulfilled, then you may not meet the requirements to start a nonprofit in your area. The other thing to take in consideration are the demographics of the area. Is there a population in need for what you're wanting to offer with your nonprofit? Let's see. And even if you want to continue to help do something for the community and a nonprofit is just not fitting the bill for you right now, don't let that stop you from doing something for your community. Volunteering or just creating the resources that you're looking to create and provide the services you're looking to provide. The step 2 to building a nonprofit is to make sure you have a solid foundation. You need to have a mission statement. It's like, what's your why? What is the reason you're wanting to do this? Are you looking to provide some resources to women who are coming out of bad relationships? Are you looking to provide some resources to single parents? Are you looking to help animals? What are you looking to do? And then you need to write a business plan for it. What is it you're going to do and how is it going to work? And what is the ultimate goal, I believe, is what you're wanting to make sure that you have in that business plan. And you can see throughout here, there's hyperlinks to extend into it a little bit more, which is outside the scope of our particular assignments. But if this is something that you already have like in the back of your mind, wanting to work on, take advantage of these resources. Another thing you need to do is develop your board. So you need to make sure you have a strong leadership, in your nonprofit. And that includes both board members of various backgrounds and experiences. Who can give you some guidance along the way to make sure that you are on the right track and that you are, working towards your ultimate goal and that you're in line with your mission statement. That's appropriate. And then you also want to have staff members that are part of your organization just to make sure that, they are supportive of your goal and that everybody's working in cohesive fashion for that goal. You also want to make sure you incorporate your nonprofit. And those, there's some resources that I'm sure that vary by state, but you want to make sure that you incorporate so that you have a formal structure And the structure also limits the liability, of any kind of bad things that may happen. The IRS also requires, if no other reason, just because the IRS said so. You want to file for tax exemption status. So this does take some time and a little bit of money, so just be aware of that. You want to make sure you're crossing all those T's and dotting all those I's, and make sure you're completely compliant in regards to what your nonprofit is and what its goals are. And you're tracking all the funding, all the fundraising activity, all the incoming funds, and all the outgoing, the expenses. You want to make sure that you are tracking that and meeting the needs for the reporting requirements. So, let's take on a couple examples. For instance, Girls Who Code is a national nonprofit organization. Okay, and the goal of it was to just get more girls into coding. It was started by Reshma Saujani, and I believe the story is that when she was running for political office, she was doing the rounds and the tours that they do and the visits, and she noticed like there was a lot of coding classes that did not have girls in it. Like there were very few girls in coding or in STEM classes. And she decided that needed to change, so she started the nonprofit called Girls Who Code. And I'm assuming she did the research, or part of her research was what she witnessed whenever she's doing these visits while she was doing her campaign. And so she saw that there was a need for it, and there wasn't really a whole lot of other things that were out there to meet that need, while there are other organizations out there, was not quite the way that her vision was. Her vision was a little bit different, was aimed mostly at girls, or namely all at girls, and that's what her vision was. And so the demographics, there was a demographic population, obviously, for girls. And that was pretty much the only demographic that she was looking for. There could be some other demographics to take into consideration if you want to get down more into it, such as their income level, their household income level, where they lived. Are they rural, or are they more in the city? Those are some of the things to kind of take in consideration as well. Who are their target market, so to speak? Obviously, it's girls, but I think they also have a high aim at helping those who may be in poverty level households. So she started, like I said, she started the nonprofit, and I'm assuming she did all of this stuff and all that whatnot. So, that's how you kind of start a nonprofit. That's kind of the basics. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than just these 5 steps. There's like these little mini steps in between, but it's basically the structure and the requirements for a nonprofit. So let's go back into here. So this assignment is due on Sunday. And what I want you to do is to write a paper, a 1-page paper, submitting, based off what you've learned on this resource and others, what it takes to start a nonprofit. So select a nonprofit that you'd like to create, and go through and write up a summary of what it takes for each of those items. For example, if I was going to start a nonprofit to teach AWS stuff, similar to Girls Who Code, it's a teaching platform, yada yada, but it's going to be focused on AWS. Okay, is there a need? Cloud computing is a growing demand. There's all kinds of jobs for cloud computing skills, so I think there is a need. The demographics. Basically, the demographic is anybody who's interested in learning. I don't really have any more particular demographics other than that, just anybody who has an interest. I would have to do a little bit more research. Is a nonprofit right for me? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. And if it's not, then I look into the alternatives. So then I want to do a mission statement. So my mission statement is to help with the training of AWS cloud computing skills, so more individuals can help attain meaningful employment. I was debating on between certification or meaningful employment. And I may, just going off the top of my head, I may kind of flip that back and forth. I don't know. And maybe it'd be a longer mission statement other than what I just said. It takes time to kind of sit down and figure out, what is your goal? Am I helping people finding meaningful employment, or am I helping them get their certification? Or is it both? What is your mission statement? Okay. So then I would need to write a business plan. And I would need to take into consideration the business plan of, let's go ahead and click on here. The business plan can help a nonprofit describe how it intends to achieve its mission, and with specific details, like, how am I going to offer the classes? Am I going to offer them online, or am I going to offer them hybrid? Am I going to offer them in person? Where am I going to offer that? What kind of resources am I going to have available? What kind of costs am I going to be looking at? Am I going to be charging anything for these classes? Because even though it's a nonprofit, I can still charge for the classes. What's my plan of action? What is the steps I'm going to be taking to achieve my mission? And I want to make sure I have a good, strong leadership, and a support system behind this nonprofit. So I want to develop a board that would be comprised of various members and members of the community, people that may have already have more experience working with cloud computing, things of that nature are the people I want to be in my board. And if I have any kind of staff, who do I want for my staff? Do I want
That's a bed ball.
Okay, I'm back. So we want to develop your board. We want to make sure it's somebody that has some experience and some insights that they can share with you, and they can help you lead. You want to incorporate your nonprofit. So there's some resources available, that vary by state. And the reasons that we want to incorporate our nonprofit, that I would want to incorporate my nonprofit, is to make sure I make it credible. Make sure I'm credible in the eyes of AWS. I want to make sure I'm credible in the other organizations around. I want to make sure I'm a credible resource to whoever may be wanting to, use my services. And of course, because the IRS says so. So I also want to make sure that I'm filing for tax exemption status. And for this right here, I believe that's where an accountant would be coming into play, because I don't even want to mess with it. So some of the stuff you may want to outsource. If writing business plans is not your thing, then you may want to. So some of the stuff you may want to outsource. If writing's not your thing, if you want somebody else to write a business plan, maybe a partner, or may just be you hire somebody else through something like Upwork or whatever. And an accountant, you can do the same thing. If you don't even want to mess with the stuff, check out an accountant, see what they would charge for it. And you want to make sure, if I was doing for the AWS, I would be hiring an accountant. So if I was, again, doing this for an AWS example as a nonprofit, making sure that I'm being compliant with my agencies. And I would also make sure that I am, crossing my T's and dotting my I's, and making sure that I'm, not letting any crystal balls drop. Sometimes it's okay to drop a rubber ball because they bounce up, but sometimes those crystal balls, they just fall and break and they shatter everywhere. So it's just a balancing act of what you're doing and making sure that you are doing everything you're supposed to be doing for reporting requirements is a crystal ball, which is another reason that you may want to consider hiring an accountant, in addition for this reason. Okay. Let's see. So one of the things I was wanting to do, if we are able to do this in class, which past history has shown not, but we're going to go ahead and give it a try. So you remember how we do Kahoot? Well, I went to a virtual meetup last night. Yeah, it was last night. And they mentioned this as a website to kind of, have engagement in the classroom. And so we're going to give this a go. It's called for web dev for nonprofits class, obviously. So what I want is kind of do this as discussion topics. What is a nonprofit? Why does a nonprofit need a website? And why would a nonprofit use WordPress? So I'm going to go ahead and talk about this in case the virtual class does not work. So what is a nonprofit? A nonprofit we've already talked about, and a nonprofit is an organization that meets all these requirements. It serves the need for the community, and it jumps all through all those hoops, and to make sure it's a nonprofit. Why does a nonprofit need a website? Just the same reason as any other organization out there needs a website, because that is how things are known about anymore. The yellow book, the white pages, those are kind of a thing of the past. Billboards, magazines, newspapers, those don't really advertise anymore because people don't look at them. What they look at are websites. How they learn about organizations and businesses and such are referrals. And the business cards aren't necessarily the way somebody refers something anymore. They still do if they have one on hand and they're having to be, close to each other instead of this whole social distancing thing. But the internet is always available, most likely, hopefully, and will serve as a platform for you to share your website, for you to share your services. And the reason a nonprofit would want a website is the exact same reasons why anybody else would want the website. They're either wanting to inform, they're wanting to sell, or maybe they're wanting to entertain. I would most likely assume sell or inform, but maybe even entertain. That's what a nonprofit would want a website. So why would a nonprofit want to use WordPress for their website? Well, WordPress is, I forget the numbers, and I think if this is an interactive classroom, I think Andrea or somebody might know that, I think a third of all the websites around the world are built in WordPress. And it's, so it's stable. So that's one reason. And another reason is that because it doesn't require intense coding knowledge. And for people who are working in the nonprofit, if they are wanting to make edits to the website themselves after it gets up and running and built, if they want to do the maintenance and the updating on their own, then they can do it without having a whole lot of knowledge on how coding works of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and such. So they have more ability to have more control of their website. And it could be a scenario where they only have the funding to pay a developer to create the website and not necessarily to maintain. So whether it's ends up being a collaborative thing between a developer and the nonprofit ongoing after it's built, or if it's a temporary job for the developer after they get it done and it's now in the hands of the nonprofit client. Either way, the client will be able to have access and easy enough understanding of how to make updates to the website. Another reason that WordPress would want to be used is because it does not take as much time for a developer to build as opposed to building a completely custom website. Nonprofits are limited on the funding that they have, as well most clients, companies, large or small, individuals or big organizations, they have a budget for what they want to spend for their web developer. And if a web developer is asked to create a completely custom website for whatever the reason, they are going to charge more for the extra time and the extra skill sets that they are required to have to build that website. So it's a more economical solution for your client, again, whether big or small, that they use something like WordPress or Webflow, and saves the developer time and that they can get things done faster and go on to their next project, and they don't have to charge a customer as much. So this is a word cloud, I think is what it's called. And what I want you to do is to go to that website. And I did this earlier, and it looks like it's still showing. And I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get back in there. So what you do is go to www.menti, M-E-N, okay. And then you put in that code of 574683. Hit submit. And then I'm in the word cloud thing. I can't remember what it's called. So what is a nonprofit? I put in community earlier. It's tax exemption. Okay, tax exemption is evidently too many letters. No, it's not. Okay, so I would hit something and then I would hit done. And it would ideally come up. Okay. Okay, so I don't know if it was just a delay in my internet or what, but if we're able to do this in a virtual classroom, what I want us to do is just to kind of think of what we think of when we think of nonprofit. So is there a need? So how do we know if it weren't, okay. How do we know if this is something that we can make a nonprofit for? Is there already something that exists to meet the needs? Are there certain demographics to take into consideration? What are the challenges the nonprofits face? So I think this is another word cloud again. So I'm going to go ahead and type in something like funding and see if this works. Okay, that one worked. So this is what I want us to do, just to kind of take a couple minutes of what do we think of when it comes to nonprofits and what are the things that they face. And then we're going to talk about challenges for nonprofits that include developing and maintaining income streams, maintaining reporting standards, making sure their IRS stuff is, at what there needs to be. So some of the characters of a successful nonprofit organization is they have a compelling mission. It's very clear on what they want and the why, and it speaks to the people. It's very real in regards to what their mission is. They have capable leadership, such as the board and their staff. They have high quality, well-regarded, and relevant programs. They have efficient operations in the support system. They have regular organizational planning and evaluation. They have the facilities they need, and they have the finances that they need. Is that the end of this? Okay. So this last thing, again, if this is working virtual, start a quiz, maybe. Okay. So what should a mission statement include? And let's see, get back on track with my phone. So what should a mission statement include? It should include a purpose. Everyone is me. Yes, it should include a purpose. And it should also include service, and it should also include beneficiaries. Like, who are we benefiting with our nonprofit? I think that was the end of that slide. Let's see. Excuse me. Okay, so this final thing is I want us to talk about in class. I'm not worried about the deadlines. Deadlines at this point are very inconsequential right now, as long as you guys are doing the work and don't get too far behind. And so since we can't do this in class, I want everybody to do a discussion. And Andrea's already put in her suggestion there is for what's with wisteria.org. So I want us to, if the virtual classroom works, I want us to do this and have a discussion of what nonprofits are out there that we would like to work with. So Andrea's already got a suggestion. And if anybody else has any suggestions, let's hear them, let's talk about them, and let's figure out which one we want to go with. And this one is unfortunately not going to work the way that I want it to. Andrea had given it a try earlier, and she says it's not working the way I was hoping it would. So we have enough struggles right now. This is not a fight worth having. So don't worry about that. Okay, so this is a pre-recording of what I kind of hope to have in class tonight at 6 o'clock, providing everything goes well. And if you have any questions, let me know. And hopefully class works well tonight. If not, this is a video discussing what we would have discussed in class from a one-person point of view, because I'm the only one talking. Okay, so everybody, hopefully I'll be able to see you at 6 tonight. Thank you.